The Stanford Prison Experiment. One of the most famous psychology experiments began with a simple question: how much can a normal person change when given power or placed in a powerless role? In 1971, researchers created a fake prison environment and randomly assigned college students to become guards or prisoners. At first, everything seemed controlled, but the situation quickly became disturbing. Some guards started acting aggressively, while prisoners showed signs of extreme stress and emotional breakdown. This is where it gets worse. The experiment had to be stopped early because the behavior became far more intense than researchers expected. The study became a powerful example of how environments and social roles can influence human behavior. However, later critics questioned the methods and whether some participants were influenced by what they thought was expected of them. Even with its controversies, it remains one of the most discussed experiments in psychology. The Milgram Obedience experiment. How far would ordinary people go if an authority figure told them to do something harmful? That was the terrifying question behind Stanley Milgram's 1961 experiment. Participants were told they were helping with a learning test and were instructed to give electric shocks to another person whenever answers were wrong. The shocks were fake, but the participants believed they were real. As the voltage increased, many people became uncomfortable, yet continued because the researcher calmly told them to proceed. The shocking discovery was that many ordinary individuals followed orders even when they believed they were causing pain. But here's the problem. The experiment revealed a darker side of human psychology. People may ignore their own morals when responsibility appears to belong to someone else. The study changed how scientists understand obedience, authority, and the conditions that can lead people to commit harmful actions. The Asch Conformity experiment. Imagine knowing the correct answer but saying the wrong one because everyone around you says something different. This was the strange reality explored by Solomon Asch in the 1950s. Participants were shown groups of lines and asked to identify which line matched a target line. The answer was obvious, but unknown to them. The other people in the room were actors who intentionally gave incorrect answers. The real test was whether the participant would trust their own eyes or follow the group. The results were surprising because many people changed their answers just to fit in. The real danger is that humans are naturally influenced by social pressure, even when they know the crowd is wrong. This experiment showed that the need for acceptance can overpower logic. It revealed why rumors spread, why trends become popular, and why entire groups can sometimes believe false ideas. The Little Albert experiment. A baby, a harmless animal, and a carefully created fear became one of the most controversial studies in psychology history. In 1920, researcher John Watson attempted to prove that emotions could be learned through conditioning. A young child known as Little Albert was initially comfortable around a white rat. Researchers then paired the rat with a loud, frightening noise. After repeated attempts, the child began showing fear toward the rat alone, and eventually toward similar objects. This is where it gets worse. The experiment raised serious ethical concerns because the fear response was intentionally created and was not properly removed afterward. Although the study influenced ideas about how fears and behaviors can develop, modern psychologists view its methods as unacceptable. The experiment remains famous because it showed how powerful learning experiences can be in shaping the human mind, sometimes creating reactions that last far beyond the original event. The Bobo Doll experiment. Can violence be learned simply by watching someone else? Albert Bandura's famous experiment explored this disturbing possibility in 1961. Children were placed in situations where they watched adults either behave aggressively toward a large inflatable doll or interact with it calmly. Later, when the children were given the chance to play, many who had seen aggressive behavior copied similar actions. The results suggested that humans, especially children, learn not only from direct experiences, but also by observing others. But here's the problem. The experiment raised major questions about how much media, role models, and surroundings influence behavior. It became an important part of discussions about violence in entertainment and real life. The study did not prove that watching aggression automatically creates violent people, but it revealed something powerful about the human brain. We are constantly absorbing and copying the behavior we see around us. The Stanford Marshmallow test. A simple piece of candy became a way to measure self-control, patience, and future decision-making. In the late 1960s, researchers placed young children in a room with a marshmallow and gave them a choice: eat it immediately or wait and receive a second one later. The situation looked simple. but the mental challenge was enormous. Some children distracted themselves, covered their eyes, or created games to resist temptation. Others quickly gave in. The original findings suggested that children who waited longer might have better outcomes later in life. But this is where it gets complicated. Newer research showed that factors like trust, environment, and economic background also influence these decisions. The experiment became famous because it represented a much bigger question. Can a small choice reveal something about our future? It showed that self-control is not just about willpower, but also about the world around us. The Robbers Cave experiment. What happens when two groups of people are placed against each other and encouraged to compete? In 1954, researchers brought together groups of boys at a summer camp to study conflict and cooperation. At first, the groups formed friendships within their own teams. But once competition was introduced, the atmosphere changed dramatically. The groups began insulting each other, creating rival identities, and developing strong negative feelings toward the other side. This is where it gets worse. The conflict became so intense that researchers had to introduce activities designed to force cooperation. Slowly, the groups began working together when they faced shared problems. The experiment revealed how easily humans can create divisions between us and them. It helped explain conflicts in society, politics, and history. The study showed that rivalry can grow quickly, but cooperation can also rebuild relationships when people share common goals. The invisible gorilla experiment. One of the strangest discoveries about the human brain is that we can look directly at something and completely fail to notice it. In 1999, researchers created a test where participants watched people passing a basketball and counted the number of passes. During the video, a person wearing a gorilla suit walked through the scene, stopped in the middle, and left. The shocking part was that many viewers never noticed the gorilla at all. Their attention was so focused on counting passes that their brains ignored a major event happening in front of them. The real danger is that people often believe they see everything around them, but attention has limits. This experiment revealed a phenomenon called inattentional blindness. It explains why witnesses can miss important details, why drivers fail to notice dangers, and why the human mind can confidently remember things that never fully entered awareness. The Harlow Monkey experiment. A disturbing experiment with baby monkeys changed how scientists understood love, comfort, and emotional development. In the 1950s, researcher Harry Harlow separated young monkeys from their mothers and gave them artificial replacements. One provided food but was made of wire, while another was covered with soft cloth but provided no food. The monkeys spent most of their time clinging to the soft object, showing that comfort and emotional security were more important than scientists previously believed. This is where it gets worse. The experiments caused significant distress and are now considered highly controversial. However, they changed psychology by challenging the idea that attachment was only based on basic survival needs. The research showed that emotional bonds are essential for healthy development. It became a major turning point in understanding the importance of care, affection, and early relationships in shaping the human mind.